Hello and welcome back to another vidIQ live stream. I am Dan, joined as always by Mr. Rob Wilson, and now special guest, Emily Baker. How's it going?
It's so good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Hello, Dan. Hello, Dan.
Hello. We're talking to Emily
on my copyright-free live streaming gloves today.
We need live streaming gloves. Uh-oh. It's going to be serious. It's going to be serious when we need live streaming gloves.
They don't fit.
I tried to cut them off.
You know what happens if the gloves don't fit?
I tried to cut them off because
boom, boom. Well done. That's a nice reference. That
these gloves every stream now, and I just try to cut them off. Like you're weirding everyone out with the gloves, man.
The fit. I committed the crime. I do apologize.
I embrace weird.
It's Rob Wilson with one of his silver play buttons in his office. To give you a Cluedo reference there. We're going 1980s and 1990s here already.
In your own office?
Yeah. Where else am I going to commit the crime?
Somewhere else. It's just, who wants to deal with that in the workspace?
What is this a live stream about again?
I don't remember. I don't know. It went way
the
off
game
the
of
rails.
Clue, apparently, in the kitchen with the gloves.
So
we should actually do that. Yeah, sorry, just to throw it completely off topic. I want people in the chat to tell us like Cluedo's mysteries involving YouTube. So it might be like, let's see, it would be Professor click-through rates with the thumbs
algorithm.
up button, with the algorithm in the about section. That's the best I could come up with.
Maybe chat can do better.
Oh dear. Sorry, Dan. Did you have a format for this? Have you got a plan here?
Sometimes. I guess normally I have everything up and ready to go because we do these tool overviews. We show you guys some vidIQ tools and we directly apply them to how you can use them to grow your channels. But we also have a very long Q&A section. Today we're not doing the tool overview. We're going to dive straight into Q&A with Emily. We want you to ask your burning legal questions, and we will be answering them, mostly Emily. I say we as if I know anything. We'll be answering them live for you right now. While we start saying hi to chat, I did ask our community tab if they had some questions. I'll have to go and make sure I have that opened.
Yeah, I saw some of those. A lot of recurring copyright and fair use themes, which with the Triller H3 podcast lawsuit, ding ding round 2 happening, I can understand why fair use is again on everyone's mind. So I've been getting a lot of questions. I'm sure you've been getting a lot of questions. We can always start with copyright. I actually just got stuff back from the copyright office today. I was so excited. I was like, my copyrights are finally back because, I copyright stuff too.
Ooh. I think first of all, though, just for people who haven't listened to our podcast, Emily, could you just quickly introduce who you are and why you are such a YouTube rock star?
That's a big ask. I am Emily D. Baker. I'm all over the internet at the Emily D. Baker. I am a former deputy district attorney from the County of Los Angeles for over 10 years. I've been a practicing attorney for over 15 years. I am licensed in the state of California. Brief lawyer things. I'm not your lawyer. I'm not your YouTube lawyer. I might be your favorite legal commentator, but this is general educational advice and not legal advice. For very specific questions, find an attorney or just DM me and I will tell you who I like. And then you can find an attorney that I have worked with. I also am a YouTube content creator. I have been a YouTube content creator for over 6 years, or almost 6 years next month. And my channel has grown from 5,000 to 100,000 in the last 6 months. So there is something to be said by dialing in your content and finding your niche. So I have been a long time YouTube fan and content creator, but a more known creator in the last few months for sure. So that is why I'm here to talk legal things and YouTube things, because I am now a full-time content creator and I love it.
I was wondering how you're going to broach that particular topic, like where Dan and I will say, we're not tax experts, we're not legal professionals. Please don't take this as legal advice. Whereas you are, but at the same time, you still have to say, yeah, this isn't actually legal advice in any way, shape, or form. It's
not advice. It's legal education and information, because in the law, creating an attorney-client relationship means that there's particular things that have to happen and particular obligations. But just listening to me does not create an attorney-client relationship, which is why I always say, I'm not your lawyer. I am a lawyer. I know the things, but stuff can vary based on situation, which is why lawyers always say everyone's least favorite phrase, it depends, because lawyers take the facts and then argue both sides of them. So it's like, if A, then B, but also if A, then F. So it just depends on how we want to argue it, which is why I say with specific situations, it's difficult to answer, which is why I like talking about pop culture cases. And that's where I do a lot of legal commentary, because we are familiar with pop culture and YouTube figures that we follow. And then we pull up the documents on my channel and break down those cases so everyone can understand the concepts and where to ask the right questions. And that's really what learning the law is about, is asking the right questions.
So in order to create an attorney-client relationship, does it have to be a transaction of money? Because I'm thinking,
no,
forgive me here. Oh, because I was in Better Call Saul. Have you watched that? I assume you must have. No, it's actually in Breaking Bad, where Saul asks, I hope I'm not spoiling this for anyone, asks Jesse or Walt for $1, so that it creates that client privilege or something. That was just dramatized.
It can be created depending on the state. So each state has their own rules, but it can be created in a conversation, which is why, depending on the state, if you go up to an attorney that you meet at I don't know, social media marketing world, and are like, hey, can I ask you a question? It's like, actually, I can't really answer a specific question because that could create an attorney-client relationship with us. And there's rules around conflicts, and if you have another client who could be at odds with this person, and it just becomes a very large analysis. But anyone who covered or who watched me cover the Toddy Westbrook case, this went on because there was argument that a witness had created an attorney-client relationship with one of the attorneys and then switched sides and talked to the other attorney. And so we went through a pretty in-depth analysis of what created an attorney-client relationship in the context of that case. And it was bananas. That case was bananas.
Because I was just wondering, if you brought that back to a YouTube perspective, what if you were in a live stream and then somebody sent you a super chat or a super sticker to try and create an attorney-client privilege there? That's your question.
I would block them off. I would yeet them off my channel immediately. But it's also why I have great moderators. I just have amazing mods, and they say this is not legal advice. I have it in my intro, but people have tried to super chat and ask specific legal questions, and it has to be, I am not your attorney. I know you like me, most of you, but I am not your attorney.
I could ask these questions all day, Dan. I do apologize.
We can talk about this absolutely all day. No, I love it.
We haven't said hi to a single soul in chat right now, so usually we'll start there. Rob, would you like to go first?
Sorry, my headphones came out. What was that?
Professionals.
Emily, would you like to go first?
Professionals. We're professionals. I saw Dr. Riley in the chat. I saw Casey in the chat. We have Lori's in the chat. There's a lot of people in the chat. It keeps jumping. Excellent Dude is in the chat. Thank you, Excellent Dude. It is
question, Emily. Quick question. What do you think Excellent Dude does?
I just think he's an excellent dude.
He creates Excel spreadsheet tutorials. And I didn't realize that until we looked at his channel, but what an amazing name that is.
I love that. Excellent. I like the play on words. I love it.
All right, shall I go now? Sorry.
Yes.
I'm interrupting everybody at that point. I do. If anybody wants me to stop, just say objection or something, and I'll stop talking. We've been raided by a lot of purple hearts here. Emily, explain why this is. Why? I mean, thanks for the love, but we don't often see purple love in the chat.
Well, the law nerds are a dedicated bunch across the internet. And so I let the law nerds know if they came into the chat, they were welcome to send purple hearts. We've dyed the hair purple. We are purple people over on the law nerds. Occasionally when I don't do a lot of political commentary, but when I do, I'm like, we keep it purple here. We're not red. We're not blue. We're sticking to the middle and talking about the facts on both sides. And then the purple hair it started as a joke with my channel because I didn't honestly think I would hit 100,000 subs nearly as fast as we did. And so the chat's like, what are we going to do at 100,000? I'm like, obviously we'll just dye the hair purple. And people are like, yes. So now on Twitter, people have been sharing their photos. They've joined in and dyed their hair purple. On Instagram, people have shared their purple hair. So now the law nerds have embraced dyeing their hair purple, and the purple hearts and the scales of justice have kind of become the emojis that we use to say hello across the internet. So it's the law. We have lots of things as law nerds. We have lots of catchphrases and inside jokes. It's a very fun community.
Yeah, we definitely need to do this more at vidIQ. Again, Dan, I'm plugging a Tube Talk podcast here, but we spoke to Nate recently, and he talks about creating traditions with your audience, and this is a prime example of it. So I best shout out some of these people here who are joining us. Frank, Flaming Shane, Rotten Ralph. Why are all of these illiterate channel names? I'm not quite sure. Stephanie Dracup, Liz A, Camera Guru is also here. Not Yusuf, Doreen Legriga, and last but not least, thank you, Mandy S. Those are my shout outs.
I will shout out. I see Jonk is here, Digital Warrior, Wise Ban. I see the chat's moving here. Cody Hindsight, Dan's Trail Shreds. That sounds like a cool channel name. Red with Envy. And how about one more? How about Stop Moving? And there's all these hard to pronounce names. Ashley Bounce. How's it going?
Yeah, how do you deal with this, Emily? Because I think your live streams, don't they sometimes get like thousands of concurrents, which is just impossible to track.
On a slow night, have about 4,000 to 5,000 concurrent. On a busy night, we almost hit 11,000 concurrent. We were at like 10,900 most of the stream last week. So I don't always keep up with the chat, but again, I have tremendous mods who help. I do my best to keep up with the chat. I'm also ADHD and dyslexic, so I have to slow things down to read them. I do my topical stuff first. Sometimes I will turn off the chat so I don't catch it scrolling, so it doesn't pull me off topic. And then when I go to Q&A, I will ask people to put the word question in front of a question and do it. And then if there's anything that I've missed or I need to see, my mods will put it in the private chat of StreamYard so that I don't miss it. So I absolutely ask for help, because I couldn't engage with the chat and bring like in-depth legal commentary without that help.
That's really smart, too, to have your mods helping you there in the background and in private chat and things like that. If no one here's familiar with StreamYard, it's what we're using to broadcast right now, and there's all kinds of cool tools like that. So real quick, because Rob's brought it up a couple times now, I wanted to quickly share that, Emily, you, in fact, have been on our podcast before, known as Tube Talk, and here it is now. Let's see if I can get the screen right. So this is Emily's episode on the vidIQ.com/TubeTalk site. You can find the episode name, 8 Legal Mistakes to Avoid as a YouTube Creator. And we're going to be talking about a lot of those today. But if you're hungry for more, we have this podcast here for you, as well as all kinds of podcasts around all kinds of YouTube topics. So just wanted to quickly share that. Well, shall we get started?
Let's.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to pull up some banners here. We also ask people to put question in front of their question, little hashtag question. If you put it in all caps, it makes it easier to see. There's a lot of conversations going on in chat between a number of you and then also directed at us. So putting question in front of it helps us kind of pick that out. I know that we have chats from the community post. We have chats or questions from the community post and questions from here. Where would we like to start?
I think it'd be good to just ask Emily to kind of sum up her opinions on the current state of copyright on YouTube. I think from a legal mind would be a good starting point, I think.
Absolutely, and happy to. I think copyright is one of the things that confuses a lot of creators, and people aren't sure the difference between copyright and trademark and things like that. So on the most basic, copyright protects works of authorship. It's shit that you create. Literary works, musical, choreography, of course, video, audio recordings, movies, etc. Those things can be registered with the Copyright Office, but you also have an inherent copyright once you create it. It does not cover ideas, procedures, methods, system concepts, things like that. It covers works of authorship, where trademark is meant to let a consumer know where the shit comes from. If you're getting a red can with a swoop on it, you know it's a Coca-Cola. If you've got, my fans know I'm obsessed. If you've got this logo, that one's not bright enough. Hold on. If you've got this little logo here, you know that what you're getting is from Starbucks. So it's images and words that let you know the source or the origin of the goods. So copyright protects music, not just lyrics, but also the melodies and the musical arts behind it. So there's two parts to music copyrights, sometimes more, depending on who wrote it. Now, with copyright, you can't use somebody else's copyrighted work, point blank, period. You have to have either a license or permission. There are some exceptions to that, and that's where we talk about fair use. Fair use is a defense to copyright infringement, which means you can use it under fair use and still get sued for copyright infringement. And then you have to defend yourself saying, no, it's fair use, and I can prove that it's fair use. And that's something that we see a lot on YouTube. How do we know what's fair use? How do we know what we can use? And if the YouTube algorithm doesn't flag me, am I in the clear? No. No, you're not. You're in the clear for YouTube's algorithm. So when we're talking about YouTube, there are now multiple components because you have YouTube's algorithm, and when you're within YouTube's own copyright boundaries, because YouTube does a pretty good job trying to lock it down, particularly with music. But then you also have the legal side of copyright. So a video can go up on YouTube, and we've seen this in the Triller versus H3 podcast lawsuit that has just started happening. There are sites on YouTube that have uploaded this fight. This fight is copyrighted work. YouTube allowed it to be uploaded. Some of these channels still have the fight uploaded, the entire main card. I mean, it was only like 2.5 minutes or something, but the entire main card uploaded. YouTube didn't flag it. Now, I think it's BS that Triller didn't just copyright claim the channel to get it taken down. They're leaving it up so they can sue to make a point. That's a whole nother conversation, but they could copyright claim that. They're choosing not to, but it doesn't mean they can't still choose to sue you. So that's kind of a quick background of copyright and fair use. Fair use is not a bright line rule, as it's called in the law. It's not a black and white. It is a go to court, fight it out, and the court has to balance different components of if it's fair use or not, which is why it can be expensive to defend and difficult. So staying on the, cleaner side of fair use is advisable. Also, when you start seeing things like TikTok and trying to re-upload TikTok to YouTube, now that YouTube's monetizing shorts, you have to make sure you have licensing for the music. TikTok has their own licensing in their app where they pay the creators, or they pay, BMG and the big conglomerates that do music licensing. Same with Instagram on their music and reels. But if you download it with the music and then put it up onto something like Shorts, if YouTube doesn't have that agreement, that can be a copyright violation because the agreement for TikTok to use it is on a separate platform. Hopefully that was not too much. I was trying to do.
it is so easy to go off into so many strands, isn't there?
Yes.
As always, I have a couple of follow-up questions. Because in terms of copyright, am I right in saying that once you use a distribution platform such as YouTube, TikTok, etc., you are, in a sense, kind of giving away some of your copyright freedom because there are terms of service on YouTube? I'm taking, as you said, YouTube Shorts as a good example of this, in that YouTube Shorts is going to allow any creator to use the audio from your YouTube Shorts, but that is, it's a cost of YouTube business, TikTok, whatever. There are certain copyright things that you're giving away, or is it not copyright? Is it another sense?
No, that's copyright.
Yeah.
YouTube asks in their terms of use and terms of service for a limited licensing agreement. Essentially, you're agreeing that they can rebroadcast your copyrighted work by uploading it to the platform. So as part of uploading it, you're allowing it to be used. Now, with regard to Shorts, it'll be interesting to see if people fight this out, because part of what you want is your short to grow. So using the audio in it helps it grow. But Also, it's using your entire work, and then is it fair use? Is it transformative? Or did you grant a licensing agreement that you're not getting paid for? It will be interesting to see how that shakes out. I don't know how many creators will complain about it.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot to come there. And then my final question, again, just trying to get a broad overview. I still feel as if the idea of copyright is something that is trying to work in a digital age where it's the foundations of it are still in the I guess the 20th century or the 19th century, and in this and on YouTube or any other distribution platform where basically anybody can make anything and be watched by anyone. The traditional copyright laws just can't keep up with it. So we have all of these, I guess, internal bickerings about this is copyright, this is fair use, etc., etc. And it's only when it gets to the courts when it really gets into the law, so to speak. And YouTube is trying to, I guess, be the lawmaker. Or again, am I making kind of a wrong assumption there?
I don't think it's a wrong assumption. I think YouTube is trying to gatekeep so that they don't get sued. Yeah. So YouTube as a platform doesn't want to end up getting fined by the FCC millions and hundreds of millions of dollars for like violating the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act because they just didn't put any guides on their platform. So YouTube is trying to protect YouTube as a business, not your copyright. You, as a creator, have to protect your copyright. Now, YouTube, I think, actually has some pretty good tools to do that. They will let you know if a substantial portion of your video has been re-uploaded. You will see it in the back end of your YouTube, like, oh, your video's over here, so that you do have some recourse. And YouTube does work well with the music industry. We see how many videos end up on trending that are music videos. YouTube does have a close relationship with the music industry. So I think they're trying to protect their platform so they don't get sued. But at the end of the day, YouTube as a platform can't sue to protect my copyrights. I don't think as a platform they have standing for that. Only I do. Now, we're also seeing platforms, including in their terms of use, all of these, anti-class action clauses that you have to agree to because these are adhesion contracts. You can either use YouTube or not use YouTube. What you can't do is negotiate the terms of service. So they're trying to take away and undermine the ability for people to join together in class action lawsuits. And that's happening on, TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, and across the board with social medias to try to say, you agree if you use our platform that you can't have a class action lawsuit because they're trying to make it less expensive for them. These things are very expensive to fight out in the courts. And I'm going to be breaking down the H3 podcast actually has kind of a seminal fair use case that they fought out for years to get precedent setting rulings on it. And there are very few creators who have the means to do that. But I think we're going to start seeing big creators in the realm of copyright, in the realm of defamation, and in the realm of employment law in the years to come, setting some groundbreaking legal rulings because we're going to see more and more employment lawsuits and defamation lawsuits.
And I think for a layman, a class action lawsuit, perhaps in the YouTube sense, would be a bunch of a significant number of creators saying, we feel as if we've been wronged here by YouTube, and so collectively we're going to take you to court.
Right.
But in the terms of service, YouTube, it feels almost like YouTube is preventing unions, like preventing a group of people to form something where they can defend themselves, which is interesting. Oh, sorry, I'm turning this into my own live stream interview, so I'm going to stop talking for a bit.
We're that's what we're here for. There's actually a pretty big case going on with YouTube right now, a class action called Hubbard versus Google, and it's a mother who's suing with a class over the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act violations, and is suing DreamWorks and YouTube and Ryan's Toy Review and a whole bunch of other defendants. And it's a very interesting case, but it is going to wind through the courts for years. And that's part of the problem is these things take years and years to work their way through the courts. And COVID has slowed that down even more, except apparently in the case of the Triller lawsuit, they're just throwing stuff up against the wall to see what sticks as quickly as possible.
And that is part of the problem, isn't it? In that once it's in the courts, you're talking about months, probably years. Whereas people on YouTube, they want to get their copyright claim resolved in 24 hours. Yeah, done. I want this video clean so I can earn some revenue from it. And it just doesn't work like that.
Nope.
from the law point of view. All right, Dan.
Law works
arrest
slow.
I changed the banner for one reason, and then I thought about changing again to Rob's vidIQ legal Q&A. But
Rob's got great questions.
No, he does. He has fantastic questions. We're all here to pick your brain about this, and that's why I did change the banner, because every week we come here, we do this Q&A, and we always start with this tool overview, and inevitably the questions end up about all sorts of a wide range of YouTube topics. This week we are going to stay focused on only picking legal questions because Emily is here giving us her time, and so if you're here,
does that make me the tool for the week though? That's the question.
I feel horrible now.
I'm just teasing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think so. What we need to do,
I think so too. It makes me the tool for the week.
Headshot of you, Emily, and then we're going to just make it pop up. We got a controversial keywords tool. I think it's appropriate for that tool. Yeah,
my videos need the controversial keywords tool because because of the legal topics that I cover and because of the way the algorithm works. When I talk about James Charles, he is becoming a controversial keyword because he is connected with impropriety. Same with stuff like Josh Duggar. So there are definitely cases I cover where I can see YouTube struggling with whether to monetize me or not. It's generally not the curse words that get me. It's the topical stuff.
Oh dear.
So when you're asking your questions, if you're asking questions that are general, like, well, I made this video, why isn't it performing well? Unless we feel like it has some kind of like legal like subtext there, we're probably not going to pick it until next week. We will be back next week, and you can expect to see Emily on these live streams the first Wednesday of every month going forward. Just some news for you guys. So
write it down.
There you go. That's going to be our dedicated legal chat. And when it comes to YouTube, there's all sorts of stuff legally that we want to get into. So
if anybody asks, why am I not getting enough views or subscribers? Our answer today only will be because you have copyright issues.
That must be the problem. I don't see what else it could be. So with that, would we like to start picking some questions here from our live chat?
Yes. Okay, let's do this. And again, I'm going to say once again, StreamYards, please add a stacking option so we can save questions and bring them up later.
Yes.
That would help us so much.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I like this one from Rogue Scholar. Why do so many organizations get away with false claims and strikes against creators, and YouTube does little to nothing to stop it?
I don't know why YouTube does not more aggressively pursue the abuse of their internal systems. In their terms of use, it says that they will absolutely go after abuses of their systems and their reporting systems. I honestly think it comes down to staffing. I don't think YouTube has the personnel to do that well. And I don't know if you could use the algorithm or use machine learning to actually find who's making false claims and not. I generally perceive it to be a staffing issue, but you guys both know more about the back end of YouTube than I do or anyone else does. So what are your thoughts on that?
Staffing issue is kind of where I was leaning personally.
I have seen this where just seemingly people get random copyright claims on stuff, but I guess I'll go to it. I'm probably going to defend YouTube a little bit here and say you assume that you're being wrongly claimed, but maybe there is a legitimate reason, and you just don't. It's the same as like, why does one channel do better than the other? You necessarily don't know the background or the history of this company that is claiming you. It might be some faceless music corporation that has a strange name, but it does actually own the copyrights to whatever they're claiming against. But I just don't know enough about this area because we don't monetize our content, so we never hit these issues, unfortunately.
We know the system kind of needs to be operated by machines to some degree, because otherwise, like, it would just be infinite amounts of stuff coming into this staff of people, if you would imagine that. And then it's in YouTube's best interest, I think, to act before asking any questions, just to make sure everything's on the up and up. And then I don't know why, but this kind of reminds me of when things get really sticky. The indie game sector of gaming can be, in particular, very nuts, because what happens is that you upload a game and it has music in it.
Right.
And the game is allowed to use the music, but the agreement never included YouTubers playing the game. And that can get videos, claimed by the music rights holders. And the person goes to the game developer and says, what's going on? And they're like, I didn't do it, And when you dig a little deeper, it's because you weren't supposed to be using the music in the video. And so it's sometimes, like Rob said, it's not always as clear cut as like someone's just abusing the system. This is very, very complex stuff with a lot of people involved.
So, Dan, if I bring up another question, by the way, it's not because I want to move on. It's just I want to bring it up before I lose it.
Okay, well, then I'll add to what I was going to say, too, is that that's not to say that there isn't abuse happening out there, because I think there certainly is.
Yeah.
That's how
Cody Hindsight. I think Hindsight. Am I adding a space there where there isn't? What is the difference between fair use and fair dealing? I had no idea fair dealing was a term. Is it a term, Emily?
It is. It's generally good faith and fair dealing. And good faith and fair dealing is generally a contracts concept that you are assumed to not act like a total dick in your contracts. So fair dealing is essentially the contract version of just don't be a dick. Fair use is a defense to a copyright infringement. So if you use a clip of a video for things like commentary, parody, criticism, news reporting, and you use that clip without permission and without licensing, then it is a copyright infringement. You're using someone else's work. But the defense to that is, yes, I'm using your copyrighted work, but it falls under fair use. So I have a defense to using it. Most people, if they see it, and they see that it's in the fair use context, will not try to strike it on YouTube. And most people would not sue you over something that's clearly fair use. You see the news do this all the time. If anybody still watches the news or news related shows where they'll show clips, they'll generally say where it came from or what channel it came from. But giving credit does not mean you have permission.
Yep.
Credit does not equal permission. So saying this is sourced from, Emily D. Baker is not permission to use it. It's crediting it. So it's going to make a creator less salty, but it really has to do with the defense to using it and how you're using it.
Just as a quick example of that, when you watch the morning TV shows and they'll have some light-hearted segment where they show a couple of funny videos from TikTok or whatever. Do you think they're actually going to the owner of the content themselves and getting permission of a
lot of times they are.
Because I guess they have a legal responsibility in a department that can afford to do that, but obviously a one creator channel doesn't necessarily do that. So again, I think this is the division between traditional television from the 20th century and YouTube the 21st century, where anybody can publish anything anywhere, and they just don't realize, I guess, the history, not necessarily the traditions, the history and the legalities behind the content that you share. Because I guess in the 21st century, people have been, from the moment they've been born now, they can watch YouTube and see clips from everywhere, whether it be from the Avengers film or some popular music, and they just see it from their favorite creator, and they assume, I can do exactly the same thing without ever hitting copyright until they get a claim or a strike.
Right.
I want to go on to this question here that is a little more general, but I think the reasoning does get into some legal territory here. From Miss Hatter: I'm trying to have free music, but I can't find anything, and I have 2 warnings already. What should I do? So I'm assuming this is somebody who's saying they can't find anything in YouTube's library that they give you of all sorts of songs. There's nothing in there, is what they're claiming.
I mean, it's extensive, that library of music.
Yes.
iTunes or iMusic also has, in iMovie, you also have royalty free. There's lots of places to get royalty free music. Maybe this is just a lack of understanding of where to go find royalty free music.
And it could be. I was going to suggest one of the many services. We have something called vidIQ Rewards. If you go to vidIQ.com/rewards, we actually do have some deals in there that you can take advantage of for services that help you get music you can use, and you get a lot more options if that library isn't enough for you. What I wanted to say though is that if you already have 2 warnings, that you probably don't want to accumulate a third one. And we're certainly not going to give you license or permission, not even if we wanted to go and keep using music you shouldn't be using. So I know it might seem like there's nothing out there, but download some of the songs anyway, put them on your video, and just listen, hear them out, because there's some fantastic music, and they're always updating that library. They have a little date next to every time something gets added, like August 2021, which is not a month yet. I don't know why I thought that, but
it's fine.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff in there being added all the time, and these artists are still hard-working artists that are just, kind enough to make their music available in this way to us.
I will say, for my content, I had music written off of Fiverr that I had an agreement with the composer who also performed it, that the copyrights went to me after they created it. Because generally, even if you pay to have music created, they would own the copyrights unless it's turned over to you as a work for hire. And then I was able to register the copyright on my own music. So now if I wanted to allow that to be used on TikTok, I suppose I could actually get money, maybe royalties, for allowing my music to be used on TikTok or for ringtones or whatever. But I took that next length, and it really wasn't tremendously expensive, and I use it for so much.
I just want to be clear here about the 2 warnings. Are they? We assume they're strikes, right? That's how we're interpreting that. I feel as if it's quite hard to actually get strikes from music. The majority of the time, you'll get copyright claims. So I almost think you've got to put some effort into getting copyright strikes on music. I think it's a little different for
they might be warnings though when you upload the video and it says we found copyrighted music, please remove it. You get this it flags the video before you can monetize it.
But that's a claim. I think there's quite a difference between a claim and a strike. Even though you should not be getting either, a claim has no impact on your channel per se. It's not 3 claims and you're done, or we're going to limit whether you can live stream and upload videos. And now that YouTube has signed all of these music labels, they're almost starting to endorse using copyright music as long as you use it within YouTube's tools, their walled garden, so to speak. So I think if you're getting strikes, that's quite a big concern. And there is always alternative music to anything that's giving you a copyright strike, definitely so. And I will say, from a personal point of view, I agree that it can sometimes be a torturous experience trying to find just the right music for your videos. And I've got to a point now where I just use the same music over and over again, and I really should do that. But I have limited time, and so maybe you want to dedicate an afternoon to just going through the YouTube audio library and picking out 10 tracks that you can then use. Because I think the worst thing to do is you're halfway through a video and then I need some music. And that completely disrupts the flow of your content creation if you're spending a couple of hours getting some music. Have a library of copyright-free, royalty-free music that's ready to use when you start a new video.
That is a great tip, and I'm in that YouTube audio library all the time for videos I'm making. I'm trying to find new music in there, and their filters are great. I can't say enough nice things about it. So let me hide the current comment here. One thing, Rob, do you have the back end of the live stream up? Can you turn on slow mode if you do for the chat?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that, Dan. Good point. Yes.
We just ask that you don't copy and paste your question over and over. You are allowed to ask it multiple times, but give it some time. Because we keep stopping the chat, and sometimes there'll be 4 or 5 questions we're going to want to answer. So please be patient. All right. Here.
And if you spam it, I'll get salty.
We don't want that.
Yeah, can we just make sure it's PG salty? That's all I'll ask for. One thing I want to add, by the way, all the law nerds watching, you haven't quite understood how our live stream works, because there's 400 people watching, but we only have 250 likes right now. So that needs to be fixed straight up, first of all. I am not going to say another word until we have at least 300 likes. So
the law nerds are very happy that there's 400 people watching. They're like, I haven't been in a 400 person chat in months.
All right.
Price of admission is 1 like per person. Sometimes 2, because sometimes we get more.
Don't like it twice. You have to like it at least 3 times.
Yes, you can hit the like button up to 3 times. All right, here. I love this question. How do you set yourself up for cyber/personal security? What are good tips to keep your identity safe? Can I go first?
No.
No?
Yes,
Okay.
of course you can go first.
All I wanted to say, and we talked about this on the podcast a little bit, Emily. The phrase I always use is that you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So set yourself up out of the gate. Maybe consider siloing all of your online personas, if you will. That includes new emails, maybe pen names for everything. I'll let Emily take it from there, but when you start, you need to have this cybersecurity plan in mind before you even create your channel, in my opinion, if you want to do it really right.
I love that you say I can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. The law nerds know I have a different phrase for that, and it involves you can't put the poop emoji back in the horse. But we say you can't put the poop emoji back in the horse all the time. We just don't say poop emoji. But when it comes to cyber and personal security, I have a lot of content talking about this because I was a former district attorney. As a law student, I worked in the stalking and threat assessment in Los Angeles. So we dealt with like celebrity stalkings and stuff. And then I've also had people attempt to dox me as a creator. I've had death threats as a creator. So I've come at it from both perspectives. You never knew YouTube would be that deep. And I'm like, what is happening? I got less death threats when I was actually putting people in prison for substantial amounts of time than I do as a YouTube
that
creator.
Is the quote of a live stream. Is that?
It's very strange. It's very strange to me. But I have seen so many channels get hacked. And I think a lot of creators start their channel with the Gmail account that they've had since they were sometimes teens or younger. And they're just like, oh, this is my Gmail account. Oh, I'll start it as my channel. That account, if you have put it on a single mailing list, used it for a bank, used it for anything, that account has been compromised. Just go with that. That account has been compromised. It's been on the dark web. Your passwords are probably also compromised. So a new email account is a great way to do it. Also making sure that you have you can use things like VPNs to give you another step of security, but using a password manager is one of my best bits of advice. Something like LastPass or 1Password, so that you have a very strong password. Always, always, always turn on two-factor authentication on your Twitter account, on your Facebook account, on your YouTube account. Also, I'm sorry, but this is just the truth. You cannot use YouTube or Facebook login for everything, because then if your Facebook account gets taken over, they have access to every account. So I know it's convenient, but if you use something like LastPass or 1Password, it's also convenient. I see a lot of people getting taken over because they use login with Facebook for so many things. The Facebook account gets compromised and then it all goes downhill. So the other stuff is making sure that you're careful about what you share. Do not share photos and images and videos of the front of your home. Do not share the specific area where you live. If you live, I used to live in Manhattan Beach. It was a suburb of Los Angeles, but I would talk about the fact that I lived in Los Angeles. It's a large city. It's not exactly where I live. Things like that, and being mindful with things like that. And then if you have kids, letting them know they also need to be mindful, because we've definitely seen it with teens. The Kardashians' teen son has definitely spilled the beans on their family a couple of times on Instagram Live. So also letting kids know that if they are on social, and if they're kids, they're teens, I still refer to them as kids, that they also have a part of keeping you safe. And it's true with family members too, if they're connected to you, letting them know to help lock down their own accounts so that people don't access you through others. That was a lot. Sorry.
Can I just add one more thing about security? You can go beyond two-factor authentication with like a physical thing that you need to insert into
physical
devices.
Key. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, I think Google calls it a Titan key. So you may want to research that as well. Because I think sometimes with two-factor authentication, sometimes your mobile phone can be cloned. But this is always with you. So if I log onto a new computer with my account, I have to insert this in order to get access. So that might be something to investigate as well.
Physical keys are great.
What about other creators that copyright claim your video, but they are not the original owner? Should you fight the claim?
Not legal advice, yes. But how do you know that they're not the copyright owner is the problem.
Yeah, assuming there's nothing amiss with this question, let's just say that you
Assuming
made a
this
video
on its face, and there is a creator that I have experience with, a creator who will promote that their audience mass flag things, and that's a violation of terms of service. But I've seen videos calling for go and flag this video. So yes, you can fight things like that.
Yeah.
I've got one here. It's not quite copyright, but I guess it's a similar legal question. Disclosure for paid partnerships with a product. What if I am an actual partner in the company? Oh, okay. Is it enough to say thanks to our paid partner, or more detail needed? I just think from a YouTube perspective, there is that checkbox where you tick it, and then on the video it does watermark it by saying includes paid promotion. But I don't know, is there an extra conflict of interest there if the person's an actual partner in the company that they're promoting a product about?
So it depends what you mean by partner. If you're an affiliate or you're in a affiliate type partnership with the company, it's different. And you can say, like, I'm a partnered creator with this company. I work with this company thanks to our paid partner. But if you are actually an investor in the company, you need to take the extra step to disclose, I am an investor in this company. I have a monetary interest in this company. The FCC guidelines require a disclosure of any monetary gain. So if you are getting paid, if you are getting affiliate commission, or if you have a monetary interest in the company, it needs to be disclosed. Now, it doesn't have to be a 5-minute dissertation on your association with it, but it does need to be clear. And my best practices are say it and put it in your description box and click the paid partnership. And on other social medias, you have the partnership with option. Use that. It's not a bad thing.
This is a classic question we get about copyright and fair use. Yep. What is the average duration for use of a clip? Or I guess, what is the minimum amount of content I can use within fair use?
It depends. So there's no bright line rule to fair use, and it depends. A 15-minute clip of a 20-minute video is a much different thing than a 15-minute clip of a 3-hour video. Sometimes a 30-second clip might not be fair use depending on how you use it, but a 3-minute clip might be fair use depending on how you use it. So it's how you use the clip is more important than the length of the clip for this to be a legal defense. For YouTube to not flag you, the shorter tends to seem to work better. I like seeing the creators, if they're giving commentary, to stop something and give commentary on it. Play, I can't get past about 15 or 30 seconds of anything without stopping to give my thoughts, but stopping and giving your thoughts is a way to do that. But if you are just uploading 5 minutes of somebody else's video for no transformative use, then even though it's 5 minutes, it's not fair use. The same as even if it's a minute, if you're not doing anything with that minute, it's not fair use. So the time is not the thing for the law, though it's a thing for YouTube. YouTube shorter clips help, but you have to look at how you're using it. It has to be transformative in some way. And that can be news reporting, that can be commentary, that can be parody, but you need to have the use in mind. How you're using it is key, which is why I hate these channels that just re-upload other people's TikToks and then get, hundreds of thousands and millions of views. It's like, that's just other people's stuff. Stop it.
It's certainly not a binary question, isn't it? It's not one second. Even if you use 1 second of somebody's copyrighted content, that could be a problem. Or at the same time, you could upload 12 hours of something. But if it's done in some really curious, as you say, I think what turns it from, I guess, binary digital to an analog, there's so many variations type of answer is I've lost my complete train of thought. It's transformative. It's that word, isn't it? It's transformative, makes it something that requires a bit more, I guess, not necessarily judgment, but an independent review, I guess, going into the legal sense of this, how it's transformative from the original content, which again is something really difficult to do just within the confines of YouTube, but it's where we all currently lie, unless it's taken to court, which I guess for 99.9% of copyright issues never does go that far.
They never get to court. So there's 4 factors the court considers, and I can give them real quick so that y'all have in mind kind of what the court looks at, but this goes court by court. What you don't want to do is get a very sassy judge who's like, I don't care. This is for commercial purpose. I only like fair use for educational purposes. This is not for educational purposes, so I hate your fair use, because it is judge by judge. And it's the purpose and character of the use, including whether the use is for commercial nature or nonprofit educational purposes. Nonprofit educational is going to be preferable to commercial use. The nature of the copyrighted work, like what is the underlying thing? Is it a photograph that a tattoo artist is then tattooing onto somebody, Kat Von D, and then getting in trouble because the photographer owns the copyright to the photo? There's also likeness issues there, but that's too deep for today. The third factor is the amount and substantiality of the portion of use in relation to the copyrighted work as a whole. So how much of the work you're using depends on how much of the overall work there is. And then the effect of the use upon the potential market or value of the copyrighted work, which is not what the lawyers in Triller have argued, because they have done a terrible job of arguing, but is one of the things, is the value diminished of the original copyrighted work because of what you've done. So, oh, I can go watch you. I don't need to go do this. So that's part of it too. Those are the 4 factors the court considers, and they consider them in different ways, which is why it's a deeper topic.
I pulled up this question just because I didn't want to lose it, because I thought it was kind of interesting.
It's a great question.
Yeah. So what if I license someone's music and then someone uses the audio, therefore the music, from my video? I'm guessing the question is, should they fight that? You know, what should they do?
The person you're licensing it from is the copyright owner, so the copyright owner should copyright it, because the license is only for you to use it. The license would not extend to somebody reusing your work.
What made me think about this is, so if they put a song in the background and they're providing commentary over it, and someone for some reason takes that, all of it, they take their commentary and the music. That's how I imagined it anyway. What then?
Well, the underlying music would still have copyright issues. So I've seen this there's YouTube creators called Twins the New Trend who react to music. Now their channel's not monetized, but they're using music that's not getting copyright strikes, because some of the music distributors are like, you can use it and you can do commentary on music, but either we get the AdSense on it, or we share the AdSense on it, or you can't have the AdSense on it. So on YouTube, monetization becomes part of it too, because commercial use is part of this consideration. And if the underlying creator is getting the funds, then maybe it's not a commercial use. But generally, if you have a license, that doesn't extend to somebody reusing your work.
Right on.
Let me give you a scenario here. So you're sort of aware of the YouTube Shorts permissions, Emily, that are coming into play.
I mean, they're just coming up, but yeah. I am vaguely aware.
I've been doing some testing with this. And so I uploaded a YouTube short, and all it had on it was me dancing, because I'm an idiot. But it had some royalty-free or copyright music we got from artlist.io. All right. So it wasn't my voice, so you could hear the music cleanly. Now, what's happening with Shorts is that in the bottom right-hand corner of a Shorts player, there is an audio button. And so you can tap that, and then it shows you all of the videos that are using that music. But it's also for individual creators. So what I was able to do was tap on that button, and it showed me that only one video was using that audio, which was just that music. And so I could have created another YouTube Shorts on another channel with that royalty-free music from artlist.io. And I guess artlist.io would have had no idea that I've been able to do that. That's a really long, convoluted way of explaining it. But is that a fault of the YouTube software right now, in that it's allowing, I guess, people to upload? Oh, I'll tell you another thing I did as well. Sorry, I've got all of these things in my head. So now YouTube is allowing you to use music from popular artists. So I did that. I think the example I used was Dua Lipa. But what I then did is I downloaded that short off of YouTube and then re-uploaded it. So it was exactly the same YouTube short, but when I re-uploaded it, I didn't use YouTube Shorts. And then I was hit with a copyright claim, even though it was exactly the same video. So yeah, I don't know what I'm asking you to discuss there. It was just a stream.
I don't know what licensing YouTube has or Google has worked out in Shorts. I imagine it's the same type of arrangement that Instagram Music has worked out with the large distributors of music and the large kind of licensing clearinghouses, and the same type of agreements that TikTok has worked out. But that doesn't apply to the platform as a whole. It would really just apply to Shorts if that's what they had done. Why the music industry is fine with it, I think, is because A, they're getting paid royalties in some way, but B, we're seeing TikTok growing music and things charting because they're trending on TikTok. And so I think the music industry sees the overall benefit, but it really is the back end licensing. I would love to hear somebody from YouTube explain that and how the licensing is working. I don't think that'll happen, but if we know who the person is, I would love to pick their brain about that.
Yeah,
it's probably proprietary, but I'm fascinated. So trying to figure out how to work within what the platform's providing still gives you the protection of the platform, like the platform's allowed it. Taking it off platform and repurposing it elsewhere, so even taking it off Shorts and putting it onto YouTube can become problematic. Hopefully that helps.
I'm quietly looking for questions. Sorry.
Oh, we're just bringing something up in the background as well. I think it's kind of relevant. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to share this as well, if my internet works. Right. Share screen. Another thing we're also aware of as well, Emily, is that monetization is coming to YouTube Shorts. But I did spot this when I was playing around with Shorts. I think this is pretty critical text. And I'm wondering how this is going to affect creators who maybe are using all of this popular music. And now they're thinking, yeah, monetization is coming up here. I might be able to start making money from it. Does this kind of put a spanner in the works for those type of creators?
I'm going to have to go to learn more for that, but I wonder. I'm sorry, it depends. I wonder if non-commercial use means that they are not an ad, that you are not using this as a commercial video. The problem is if you're monetized, does that change it to commercial use?
Yeah.
And I would have to go to learn more and dive into it to give a thorough answer to that. Maybe we could do that for next month's have that on cue for next month's, or do a little a little short or something on it, because I would need to dig into it to see how they're defining non-commercial use. Is that a video with an ad in it? Is that a video from Coca-Cola or a corporation? Is that any monetized channel?
Because
yes, it could be an issue.
For vidIQ, if I'm promoting a tool from vidIQ and I use some popular music, is that now for commercial use? I know,
yes.
in the simplest sense of it.
In the simplest way.
I think it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have you found a question now, Dan?
Yeah, I got a couple. All
right, go.
All right. Should I get signed legal releases from guests on your channel, my channel, what anyone's channel?
The Night Owl sessions, it is best practices to get a signed appearance release to allow people to know how you're going to use it. If you're going to edit it, that you have the right to their likeness, username, handles for that purpose. But that agreement can also happen in a less ideal circumstance over email, ideally, not DM, saying, hey, you're going to be on my channel. This is how it's going to air. This is how I'm going to share it. This is your information that I'm going to use. I intend to leave it up and not take it down. Is that fine with you? And then have them say, yeah, that's fine. That sounds good. Particularly if you're going to put it up on a YouTube channel and then perhaps repurpose it to a podcast or to Shorts, you should have a appearance release for that. But those agreements can also happen as long as they're clear over email. Because what you don't want, and I've seen this happen to creators where somebody has showed up on their channel and then later they get into some stupid kind of Twitter beef. And then they're like, well, I never agreed to let you have this interview up on your channel, take it down. And if you've put an ad on that channel, if you've put a promo on that video, then you might have a contractual obligation to leave it up. The person who appeared is telling you to take it down. And then you end up in a situation that's easily avoidable.
Next question I have here is, I used a copyright song in one of my montages months ago. What are all the possible scenarios? What can go wrong in the worst case? So I guess nothing is
Flaming
happened.
Shane, jail, death, and flogging are all the possible worst case scenarios.
Depending on which state you're in.
Yes.
I mean, what are all the possible scenarios is a very broad question that we probably don't have time to go for. If you use copyrighted music, the worst scenarios, you get sued for copyright infringement by the lawyers from Triller, who are painfully terrible, or YouTube can strike you and then it can impact your channel. Those are kind of your broad general worst case scenarios, but also flogging.
I would ask just as an additional question here, because they've used montages. Flaming Shame, this is not a question to you about whether you're using your own content to create montages, but let's say a creator sourced all of these clips from somewhere. It's not actually their original content, but they've put it together in a montage and they've added some copyrighted music. Would that be transformative enough? I guess montages in general, if it's just clips put together, is that enough?
I don't love just montages. I don't know if the courts will consider it transformative, because it's adding a front and a back to it is not what we've seen in the case law as transformative use. I don't love montages of other people's stuff. I don't.
I have a confession. I do like to watch a channel called News Be Funny, where they just get the comical clips of news readers and things that go wrong. Would that be transformative in a sense that they only take, it's supposed to be a serious news program, but they're only taking the comical moments for it from a collection of
comedy
sources
and parody have kind of very particular rules.
Yeah.
And comedy, the balance here with copyright and fair use is balancing copyright and fair use and First Amendment. So it's like restrictions on what you can use, but also this desire to have freedom in what you can use and say. And comedy gets you can get canceled over comedy faster than you're going to get copyright issues over comedy. But comedy has a kind of broader acceptability in the courts because you can get away with saying things you wouldn't otherwise say. This is true in defamation as well. If it's for satirical and comedy purposes, you're going to have a wider berth than you would otherwise. And that is what it is. I think if you live in Canada, you're not subject to potential flogging because they're much gentler up there. So I think probably not. They might take away, your maple syrup for a week or so.
Or they might say, we're not angry. We're just disappointed, eh?
That's exactly what it is. We're disappointed in you.
Be very careful with montages is the moral of the story, I think, because when it comes to the gaming space especially, there's this hunger for creating these videos that are full of the best moments, and in theory those videos be very hard to click away from because they're just kind of gripping you. There's so much cool stuff going on, or funny stuff, or whatever it is. But if you've been just grabbing clips all over the internet without asking permission, even if you are getting permission, I would still be a little bit cautious about that, depending on how you're getting it. You're just kind of, I think you should create a channel like that and then, be ready to run into issues in the future. Just, cost benefit, I
brought this one up, Dan, because you might have some interesting insight on this as well. Gaming in general, in terms of, like YouTube is rented land. Whenever you play a game, you're on rented copyright land, so to speak. The question is, if a gaming channel uses footage, screenshots from official trailers and press releases, so we assume that the company wants this broadly shared anyway, in a video and then they're discussing the game, is it covered by fair use and is permission needed?
Go ahead. Sorry, Dan.
Sorry. I wanted to ask Emily a question like this because there was a big Minecraft update a while ago, and back when I was covering that a lot more closely, I actually did use one or two clips, something I never do. I use one or two just segments from the trailer hoping, yeah, this will probably fall under fair use. So, fingers crossed. But that's like, since I'm not like a legal expert, I'm just going to do everything within my power to say like, this is fair use because I'm only using that much and I'm commentating over it. I'm describing what people are seeing. I feel like this is transformative. So it's just kind of cool that this came up because I was going to ask you anyway. How do you feel about that? Because I see creators all the time using almost entire trailers of games in their coverage of them.
And I think when it comes to trailers, we talked about those balancing factors. If you're using a trailer, you're probably not taking away the potential market or value of the thing, right? Because you're now essentially signal boosting it. If you are doing it for commentary and newsworthy purposes, you see news organizations, though often I think they have permission and are owned by the same parent companies, using full trailers for commentary purposes. You see great channels like Screen Crush talking through trailers for movies and, next week's scenes from the show. So when you're giving commentary, you can use clips of things. You can use the entirety of the trailer. It just depends on how transformative it is. Playing a trailer and being like, I thought it was great, is different than stopping it and being like, oh my God, did you see this? It was this kind of this. And does this indicate that this is coming up? The depth of the analysis becomes part of it too. And also being comfortable, like, do I feel comfortable going to court saying, I was using this for this purpose. I was creating commentary on this to explain or to break it down or to educate or to entertain in some way. You've got to be able to describe what you're doing other than I wanted to share the trailer on my channel.
Again, a bit of a naive question here, but when I buy a video game, I don't technically own the video game. Is it like I own a license to play the game within the confines of my own bedroom, house, whatever? It's a completely different question when you want to play that game and share the footage from it on a platform like YouTube, because
video games are complex.
Yeah.
When you own a game, you do own your license to one non-commercial use version of that game.
Yes.
You can sell it to somebody else. You can give it to somebody else. Kind of like a CD with music. You can sell it. You can give it to somebody. You can't rip it and upload it to Napster.
Yeah.
But
Napster, what a reference.
I've been talking about Napster a lot lately. But you can't. Uploading gameplay is one of these things that is it fair use because you're transforming the game? Because if you don't play the game, it's just sitting there. And so is your play of it transformative? I need to see if I can find a court case on discussing fair use in gaming. I think there's a very strong argument that playing the game and commenting over it is transforming the game from its state just in the box. But I haven't seen companies want to take this to court because what I find from having two teenage boys, well, a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old, is that when they watch a creator play a game, if they do not get that game in their hands within the next couple of days, it's like they're going to actually physically die. So I think part of that is that there is the fact that the industry is not going after people because it promotes their game. They might fail on that. Is it taking away the potential market? Or gamers are going to say, no, me playing Minecraft on stream enhances the market because now others want to get into playing Minecraft and I'm transforming Minecraft by my actual playing of it. That's how I would analyze it, but it could change as if game creators don't want their content out there. Right now, I think that there's a symbiotic relationship between gaming streamers and the game creators.
Yeah, Nintendo, Dan, did try and fight this, didn't they? I think maybe 5 years ago, they were trying to create their own. Was it like almost like their own partner program within like video distribution platforms?
I'll have to go look.
I think it's gone now. I don't follow it too closely now, but back in the day, if I understood it right, it was you had to partner with Nintendo so they would get a cut of what you're doing. This is when they came around, right? So first you couldn't do anything. Then you could partner with them. They would get a cut, but then YouTube would take their cut or whatever platform you were on. So it was a mess, and I think these days they've eased.
And then
up,
Animal Crossing came out, and they were like, "Screw it, whatever. Just
never mind.
We just play with our adorable figures. Everyone's going to want to buy it anyway."
Yeah.
The thing is, technically streaming it could be considered copyright infringement because the music is copyrighted, the characters are copyrighted, the look and feel is copyrighted, but also where is transformation in a game that doesn't play itself? That's I don't know if the courts have addressed it, but you've given me something to look at because I don't do a ton of gaming commentary, but I'm getting asked more and more too. So
I will just want to add to that really quick. There are a lot of game developers out there from AAA to indie that will put on their website what they personally allow, what you can do with their game. If you're ever curious, if you're playing a game on your channel, you should really dig in there, and find those pages. They oftentimes do exist. If they don't, a lot of these developers can be reached on social media, and you could just say, what's your policy here? I see a lot of people are playing this game on Twitch or YouTube. Can I do that? And also keep in mind, they could change their mind one day.
Yes, they can. And it should be in their terms of use. You see this on websites, and back in the day when people blogged, you would see on their website how you can use, and I wrote a lot of website terms of use, and I've written them for apps as well, but you would see in the terms of use, you can use this in the unedited form with attribution. So the website will say, in that case, attribution is permission because the terms of use on my website say you can share out this post as long as it is unedited, it links back, and it's attributed. And so you can find that, I would imagine, on a lot of developers' websites as well under their terms of use on their website. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I will pronounce this channel very carefully. Beastie Pumps asks, if I get a copyright claim on my video that I own and made, but someone copyrighted me claiming it's theirs, when it's not, what can I do? So I think there's a lot of unknowns here for us to try and answer. For me,
work with the platform.
If it's your own content, then just purely by date, yours should be the original work on YouTube, which means that within the YouTube copywriting matching tool, you should be matching against them rather than the other way around, unless you deleted it, somebody else re-uploaded it, and then you re-uploaded yours, and that's where it gets very, very complicated. But then the other question is the content within your video 100% yours? Is there any other potential copyright claims within that video which may muddy the waters? That would be my sort of questions to ask, because I don't know how we can accurately answer this one.
Work with the platform is my answer to that, because if it's yours, work with the platform. Hello, Tech Valor.
Tech Valor asks, are video game sound effects like weapon noise, things like that, copyrighted separate from the music?
They can be. It would depend on the creator. We've seen this even with companies like Audi, the vehicle. They have copyrighted and I believe trademarked their signature exhaust sound. They may also have a patent on it because the sound of the car exhaust is specific to Audi vehicles. So yes, sounds and sound effects can be, but I don't know if video game creators use a clearinghouse where they can use like all of them use the same kind of gun effect sounds or not. So I think it would depend game by game or game creator by game creator studio, but they can be.
I would say if the game developer used sound effects that they made, that would probably fall under whatever license they're already giving for the game itself. But it's just like the music conundrum we talked about before, and then hypothetical. If the music only had the license for the game itself and not for creators to stream it to their heart's content. I think a great example of this might be, and I don't know, but maybe you've heard about this, Emily. With Grand Theft Auto caused some problems because Grand Theft Auto uses just mainstream music, and people play it on YouTube, they play it on Twitch. I'm guessing that creates some issues.
It can, absolutely. And I know in Call of Duty, you can hop into vehicles and play the radio depending on which Call of Duty you're in. And so, yes, that can, because the game company would have licensed the right to use that music in their game, but then it's not it's not like sub-licensed to you to stream it. So it can cause problems. Sometimes the reason these things don't come up is because people just don't fight it. It's the reason you can still go on Etsy and buy like a Mickey Mouse shirt with your name in it. Like technically that is trademark infringement, but Disney does not spend the time and effort to shut down every Etsy shop, though they're starting to. So you see things, just because somebody's doing it doesn't mean it's okay to do it. It just means they haven't gotten slammed on it yet.
Quickly, the difference between trademark and copyright infringement?
We talked about it a little bit briefly. It's the difference between the purpose of copyright and trademark. Trademark is to identify source of goods for the consumer. You have a shoe with a big swoop on it, even though it might have 666 on it and blood in the sole, it's got that big Nike swoosh, and you know that it's a Nike. That the swoosh is their trademark. It identifies the goods to Nike. Copyright is for works of authorship. Music, choreography, that can be architecture, photos, movies, visual works, sound recordings, dramatic works, literary works. So it's to protect the author. Copyright protects your creation once you've created it. Trademark tells consumers this thing that looks like this came from the place that sells this. We all know what this is. So this is a trademark, though there can be crossover.
And so again,
this is why lawyers have jobs.
I can put this into a YouTube perspective because you just experienced this, Emily. You've got now a tick against your name because you've just hit 100,000 subscribers. But that confirms to viewers that you are the real Emily D. Baker when you're commenting or somebody sees one of your videos.
Yep.
So it's like trademark is kind of representation, isn't it?
It is. It's letting you know that what you're getting is the original goods from the original party, but there's lots of different types of things that can be trademarked, and that's separate from patenting things. There's a lot, which is why if you're a creator that's grown and you have catchphrases, you have things that you're putting on merch, you also need to look, because some of those things can be trademarked by somebody else entirely not in your space. People can trademark their names. If you want to know about trademarking rights and a name, on my channel, I'm covering the Haley Page lawsuits. Haley Page was a wedding dress designer. She's on Say Yes to the Dress. She sold the rights to her name, Haley Page, to the company she was working for. She now really deeply regrets that decision. They're in court. There is a temporary restraining order against her from using any of her social media handles, because her social media handles were under the name Miss Haley Page, and she sold the trademark rights to the company she was working for. So if you want to kind of a deep dive of how creators can get into contracts where they don't understand the implications down the road, the Haley Page lawsuit is an interesting place to start with that, because you can sell the rights to your name and then you can't use it anymore in commercial purposes.
And then another side of this, Dan, we've interviewed, was it Corey recently, and also Jake Fellman, who have built their YouTube empires off the back of other people's intellectual property, you know, whether it be Among Us or whatever. And they're really cognizant of the fact that, yes, they've made these channels that are super popular, but they need to get away from somebody else's characters and start creating their own intellectual property, because they don't know, as we'll probably say again, a snap of a finger by whether it be YouTube or the owners of the content can just eradicate somebody's livelihood, their business instantly.
Yeah.
Yep. We saw this with 50 Shades of Grey. Not to take the conversation there, but we're going to take the conversation there. 50 Shades of Grey started as fan fiction from the Twilight series. So it was characters created by the author of the Twilight series, and they had to redo 50 Shades of Grey before it could be published, because it had started as fanfic. And in kind of the booktube and fan fiction space, you have using characters. Those characters are copyrighted. But if you want to write some awesome Raylo fiction, you're using characters that do not belong to you. So there's limits on how you can publish that and redistribute it, and if it can be for commercial use.
Let me ask you this, because this is another thing I've seen, again, going back to the gaming side of things, as I do. There are a lot of creators out there. Let's just use Minecraft as my favorite example. they'll play Minecraft and they'll create kind of like you have the purple hearts for your law nerds, right? They'll create kind of different inside jokes, right? And then those will kind of spin off as they grow into merch. So what they end up doing is they'll hire an artist, they'll get all the rights they need. Let's assume they get all the rights they need to sell shirts with this, thing on it, right? And it's representative of Minecraft. Yeah, exactly. So selling lawn nerd shirts, but it's representative of Minecraft. Maybe the joke is that the YouTube creator doesn't like cows or something. So it's always a cow getting bonked in the head with a club. So someone draws this up. It's based off of Minecraft. They sell the shirts. Can then Mojang come along and say, hey, you can't do that. Those shirts, all that money, that's now ours.
It depends on how transformative it is. If it is just somebody else by hand redrawing a Minecraft cow that's clearly a Minecraft cow without licensings, then yes, they can come back and say I don't know if they've trademarked because you can trademark visual things, but they are their copyright because they've created them. So even though you have your own artist draw it up, if it's somebody else's thing, then they can still come back and say, you need to disengorge, which is what it's called, or claw back, legal terms that Emily loves, all of the profits from it. And we saw this happening with Taylor Swift in the Evermore lawsuit. There was a theme park that was like, hey, you can't name your album that's what our LARPing theme park is named. We want to claw back all of the money you've gotten from your album. And I was laughing at the lawsuit going, that's more than this theme park has ever made in the entire time it's been open. But okay, go off. They settled out of court, by the way. But yes, you cannot just have somebody else draw it, recreate it, and have it be your property. Also, if you have a designer create something that is merch, first of all, you want to make sure that you're not infringing on anyone else's trademark to sell that merch. And second of all, you want to make sure that you have a release or an agreement with your designer that is a work for hire, because otherwise the designer owns the copyright in it and can come back after you later. Just like you cannot buy a font for personal use and then turn around and use it for commercial purposes like selling merch. So even fonts can be copyrighted. And if you use somebody's proprietary font and sell a shirt with that font on it, then you can get banged for that.
Two things that have come out of that. What was that term again, Emily? Disengorge.
Disengorgement and clawing back.
Sounds like something from Mortal Kombat. I want somebody to use that in a court of law.
Or they use disengorgement all of the time, not to be confused with disembowelment, and not to be confused with like what happens if you have not disengorged, you need to go to the hospital. No, it's taking back the money.
Second thing,
Dan, what you get when you have me on, Dan. Don't look mortified.
Second thing that's got me thinking about as well, Dan, is there's a pretty costly divorce that's coming up for Bill Gates. So I'm thinking Microsoft, Mahjong might need to claw a little bit back from the intellectual property there on Minecraft, possibly. So it's just a word of warning for you all, folks. Let's finally get to this question that DC Studios has been sitting on for about 10 minutes, hoping we actually answer it. I have stuff that I released for download. However, people have taken it without crediting me. Am I allowed to use a copyright tool to remove those videos? So a little bit on the other side here, somebody who has some content that's being used by others. I guess my thought here, Emily, is that the creator should have been clear how other creators could use this in their description. So maybe a bit of a learning lesson to be learned there. Or is there some presumption if there's no? I
don't know what release for download specifically means.
I think I can clarify that a little bit.
Yes, please.
So I know this channel is a Minecraft channel. They are around quite a bit. So hey, DCU. A lot of creators like to release things for download in this space. Maybe they are maps. Maybe they are Minecraft skins. Things that other creators can use in their own game. So let's say you've been playing on this Minecraft world for a while, and now you want to let others, hey, this was my survival world. We had a fun season. I'm going to now give you the world to play with, and I'm going to move on to my next thing. That's like a common thing I've seen. So that could be what they're maybe dealing with.
So DCU Studios, I saw in the chat, said, I define it in my description. If you define how they use it and they're using it outside of that permissive use, and you have created it, it is your copyrighted property. What gets complicated and can be confusing is if you're overlaying it in somebody else's copyrighted property. So you've created something in a skin maker or what have you. So it can be an issue. But yes, if what you've said is you can use it with credit and they're not crediting you, yes, you have the copyright in that, whether you want to go ahead and use the tool on YouTube or whether you want to reach out to the creators and say, hey, it says how you use it. If you're not going to credit me, then I'm going to have to go ahead and strike your channel and see what they say. My preference is reaching out to the creators first, because a lot of times people really just don't know. And I always talk about the first step when I work with clients as being, oh, by the way, is you shoulder tap them and say, oh, by the way, you might not be aware, but what you've done is this is my property. Can you please use it in this way or credit me in this way? And if they do that, then you're good. And if they don't, then you can take it the next step further. Because honestly, a lot of times people really just don't know and they don't think of it at all. So DC was saying it's all original. So that's how I like to approach things. If you don't want to, oh, by the way, you could use the tools that you think are necessary. You own the rights to the things that you've authored. You can also, by the way, register those with the Copyright Office if you want.
I think the copyright matching tool does allow you to just contact a creator. I think you can contact and then issue a copyright takedown notice as well. So as you said before, Emily, use the tools that YouTube provides for you. Filmic reality, solo creators versus MCNs, multi-channel networks, just to clarify what that means. One such MCN YouTube channel has given strikes to multiple videos for trolling her video. I don't know who the her is, I must admit. Are MCNs overtaking solo creators, I guess, is the question.
What do you guys think? I know one of the things that MCNs promises is that they will heavily protect your copyright, but do you know how MCNs do that? They take the rights to your content in some cases. So you have to be mindful if you're going to work with an MCN as to what rights they own. I actually had an interview with a viral TikTok creator, Christine Snaps, great TikTok creator, over 5 million on TikTok. She's also a creator here on YouTube. And she had a video go viral and everybody was using it. And a company reached out and was like, hey, we can help you get back the copyrights in this and copyright strike the people that are using it. So they license it and pay you for it. And to do that, they took the copyrights to her viral video and are like, now we can license it. We can go strike it because we're now the copyright owner. So just be mindful. I don't know if MCNs are overtaking solo. That's more of a question for you guys. But with MCNs issuing strikes on behalf of the creator, it's because the MCNs have generally taken the copyright for themselves. So that's something to be aware of.
I didn't realize MCNs were super relevant today. I didn't realize people were still signing up to those,
They can be I got reached out to as my channel started to grow. It was almost daily that there were MCNs in my inbox.
Wow. I just, as a word of warning, in my own experience, I would just caution anybody, and it's hard, but if you ever get presented a contract from MCN, you need to read it. And if you can't understand what you're reading, spend the money on yourself to get a lawyer to help you with that. It is worth it, because there are, I'm not going to say this is a blanket statement, all MCNs. No, there are MCNs out there that are very, I'm going to say, predatory. They put things in their contracts to siphon off, to siphon off as much as they can. I can't say for sure whether all MCNs are like this. Certainly the ones I've encountered have shown me contracts that I personally deem as predatory, and I just block them and move on with my day. Maybe there's some good ones out there, but you have to read those contracts, because that, as Emily said, like, they're just literally taking ownership of what you're creating in that case.
And oftentimes MCNs will take over the back end of your channel and take over your AdSense and then redistribute it to you. So now you don't have control of your AdSense, and often you don't even get to see your own statistics as cleanly, because they've taken over essentially your channel. So it depends. I know there are people who like working with MCNs. There are creators who have gotten quite a lot from their MCNs. Be mindful if that's something that you want to do, and read the contract. get a lawyer to read the contract. And MCN, I see it in the channel. What are MCNs? They're multi-channel networks that kind of, they sell you on, we're going to pool the resources and we're going to work with advertisers. So almost like an agency, we're going to build your channel. We've got tools to work with you. But you know what? vidIQ has tools to help you grow your channel too. And they don't take any of your AdSense. So there are other tools out there to help you learn your channel, grow your channel, and build your channel, and to find sponsorships and what have you. You don't necessarily need that, in my opinion.
I have a bit of a confession here. I think I can say this now because they're about to drop me. I have been with Fullscreen as an MCN for about 6 years now on my old channel. It's mothballed right now. I haven't done anything on it for 3 years. And I got an email a couple of weeks ago saying we're dropping you, presumably because I've not made any content for 3 years, so I haven't got a problem with that. And I will say, Emily, you were right in that. I think one of the reasons why I signed up for them to begin with was because I thought they would give me better protection for my content and for copyright. And I would say my experience with them hasn't been bad. I don't know if they helped me earn more ad revenue or less. That's impossible to say. I got a few tools from them here and there in terms of copyright music. And I think the deal I got with them in terms of a split wasn't too bad. In hindsight, would have gone with them? Probably not. But at the same time, I think we're leaving this relationship amicably. But again, one of the reasons is because I'm just not making any content on that channel anymore. And that actually makes me wonder, I think, wasn't one of the requirements was that I was supposed to continue making content on that channel? You know, one of the possibly, and I haven't. Oh well, I hope they're not watching this live stream.
Oops.
Never mind. Can we delete this bit out of the live stream?
It just depends on the contract, but most of those contracts have like a hardcore like year where they offer things, and then as they continue on a reoccurring basis, don't have necessarily the same requirements. So it sounds like maybe.
I was in agreement with you, Dan. I thought the MCN market was shrinking, although we're concentrating a lot less on channels that maybe have just reached monetization, and they're going after the growing channels. Probably, I mean, Emily, in terms of the emails you received, were they all very generic ones saying, "Hey, I've just checked out your channel, I love it. We'd love to support you through an MCN"?
No,
or were they more
a lot
personal?
of them were much more personalized.
Okay.
And it was after, because my channel grew 55,000 subscribers in 1 month in November 2020. And during that growth, I got a lot of, "Oh my God, I found you through this video. Really like what you're doing. Enjoying watching your channel grow. We'd love to have a conversation with you." It was not just a sign up here. It was a get on a call with us and have a conversation. And then it was, "This is what our MCN is." So those contracts didn't fit me. Then again, it might be different for me for my YouTube channel versus my podcast, because people have reached out about my podcast separate and apart from it. So if people are willing to have a conversation with you, have a conversation with them, look at the contract. If the contract seems like there's a lot of parts you've got questions about, it's okay to walk away.
Mm-hmm. Wow, we've gone deep there with MCNs. I thought that was a 2018 conversation.
You've got tools here with vidIQ that are, because one of the things they sell new creators on is, we'll help you understand your analytics. Well, there's other ways to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know what the current offerings are, but back in the day, you didn't even have access to custom thumbnails, you know, and so if you signed on with MCN, they could get you access to all these different things. And then over time, YouTube opened up their partnership floodgates, and they let people do custom thumbnails and scheduling, and you know, things just kind of unlocked, and now they've probably had to innovate quite a bit.
Yep. Now it seems that they're selling copyright protection and selling like, "Hey, if YouTube has a problem with your channel, we can negotiate with YouTube for you." So really selling this, we will be your intermediary or your middleman between you and YouTube, which I think a lot of creators get very afraid of. What if YouTube just scrubs my channel overnight? Who do I call the next day if I don't have the access to the back end of my channel? I don't have creator support chat. Who do I even call? And MCNs are really selling, "Hey, we're that connection." If they don't take control of your ad revenue and don't take control of your copyright, then I have no problem with that. If they want to help you meet brand deals and be, you know, your liaison between YouTube, a lot of them just don't do just that though.
Right.
Robin Han here with the next question. They are an opera education channel, meaning some of the videos will need to use fair use music. Will my fair use videos make it harder to monetize when I reach 1,000 subs and 4,000 hours of watch time? My immediate question, just back to Robin, is do you currently have copyright claims on the videos that you're uploading or not? Because my thought always is, let's say you have a channel that's reached the requirements, but 3,000 of those hours came from content with copyrights on them. Where is the incentive for YouTube to accept you into the YouTube partner program, since both YouTube and the copyright owner are already making revenue from probably putting adverts on your content? But that's just my outside of YouTube opinion on that.
So for me, educational use is a great example of fair use, but it just depends on what you're using and how you're using it. YouTube can be pickier about musical content. So if you're using musical clips, it can be more difficult. And when you look at channels like Twins the New Trend, if you use songs, depending on who the distributor is, sometimes they will split revenue with you. Sometimes you can monetize the video, but all the revenue will go to the music copyright holder. So it can make it difficult to monetize some of those videos. But I also suggest to a lot of creators, as you're growing on this platform, have a back end offer too. So if you're an opera educational channel, do you also consult? Do you also voice coach? What are the other offerings there, so that YouTube is growing people into your audience to bring them into an ecosystem that's not just monetizing through YouTube's and ads?
That is a fantastic point, in that AdSense should usually, for most creators, be the icing on the cake. And if you have a profession or a skill or a service that you can sell within your channel, that's likely to bring in a lot more revenue and you have more control over it. So that's an excellent point there, Emily.
What do we
Silence.
got next?
Silence.
What do we got next?
This always happens. We're just searching. Is there a point where you want to look at a couple of community tab questions?
Oh,
there's a few that have been liked enough to kind of get raised up here.
Awesome.
So we could share the screen then, Dan, could we?
Oh yeah, we could do that. Are you setting it up? Okay, cool.
I am. Okay. Now I can't read it on my screen now.
Okay. Let's
my problems all the time with everything.
So the one I was looking at is down there, wondering how Emily feels about being sucked into YouTube drama while covering YouTube law news. I've seen it happen in one case in particular. I think she did a great job drawing a line between getting roped into it and talking about it. Was curious about her personal thoughts. I wanted to pick this because it just now I'm curious.
Oh, well, I ended up getting named in one of the lawsuits I was covering in more than one filing, by name, channel linked, videos linked. I also received death threats, harassment, threads on Reddits and whatever. It was a very interesting experience, but also I know what my content is. I know who I am as a creator, and I know what I am okay with and not okay with. And I set that as a creator. I'm not going to fight with people's feelings. I generally do not clap back unless something has reached the point where I have to, because my community knows me and knows who I am. So I really focus on the positive aspects of my community. And I've seen creators get be critiqued or receive criticism for this. When you see a creator who, like a Jaclyn Hill, who is widely criticized for only responding to negative comments on social media, but there are hundreds and hundreds of comments of, oh my God, love your last video, love this, love what you've put out, just got my new lipstick. And she's only responding to the ones that are like, oh, Jaclyn, blah, blah, blah. I choose to put my energy into the positive part of my community and not people who are just flaming out on the internet and having temper tantrums over perhaps something that I've said. So I put my energy into my community and draw the line at just petty drama. But I also cover things that are related to the drama community. I was just not anticipating it in the way that it showed up, but that's how I dealt with it. Hopefully that makes sense. I was not expecting to end up in the legal filings. I actually sent a screenshot of one to my mother. I'm like, look, mom, it's like Inception, legal commentary Inception. And then I've talked to other legal commentators in the space, Nate, the lawyer, and Ricada over at Ricada Law. And they're like, yep, us too. We've commented on cases on YouTube and then ended up in the filings about the cases we're commenting on. I'm like, it's so strange. It's so strange. But the law nerds in the chat know my tagline, facts, not effery, and we stick to the facts and not the effery. So.
I'm just imagining a dystopian future now where all court cases take place on YouTube live streams, and like the jury are the concurrent viewers, and you get to like,
yes,
thumbs up, thumbs down.
It's going to be Idiocracy, where the lawyers show up. Have you guys seen Idiocracy?
Yes.
The lawyers show up and they're sponsored. So the shirts they're wearing are their sponsors when they show up in court, and they're sponsored by energy drinks. There was a moment in court that I shared on Instagram where somebody showed up into court with a very inappropriate screen name. And the judge was just like, what is this? Zoom has brought us many good court moments.
I got to say, Rob, I would watch that episode of Black Mirror.
I would too.
This is an interesting one because I sometimes do this on my YouTube news. Dividend Matters asks, can I use screen captures from free websites on my videos like Yahoo Finance? And then the same question except for pay promotion. So I guess this might be Forbes, or like what else does a paid subscription service on the internet?
I think they're talking about like information behind paywalls, like articles behind paywalls versus articles not behind paywalls. Paywalls. Paywalls are a whole nother level of copyright because it's harder to argue that prong of fair use that you are not damaging the potential market for the work. So if you take an article that's behind a paywall, screenshot the article because you've paid for it, and then put it up, there's no incentive for anyone to go read the paywalled article. I also don't like seeing this where people will take things out of someone else's Patreon. So a creator who has stuff behind a paywall on Patreon, and then they'll take it and reshare it. I don't think it will be seen by the court with the same friendliness because it does damage the potential market for that copyrighted work that's behind the paywall. So when it comes to free distributed news, you are using it for commentary. It's widely available. You're linking back to it. So you're not going to damage the value of the work. You're probably using it in some transformative way and for commentary. So the paywall thing I don't like, and I see people in the commentary community do this, and I always let them know, like, I love your channel. I do not like people using and taking things out from behind paywalls, taking things out from behind Patreons. And I've encouraged creators behind the scenes when things have been taken from behind their Patreon and shared to go after that, because to me, that's not going to fall under fair use because it's behind that paywall.
I think this
hopefully that helps. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. I think this is a great question as well. I've seen several times roasting channels get suspended on YouTube. My question is, why does this happen, and what can we do so that our channel doesn't get suspended?
So
do we need to explain what a roasting channel is first?
Go ahead.
I don't know. How do you describe this correctly without?
Would this not be a channel? I don't know the correct term, or maybe I don't know what it means, but I imagine it's a channel where somebody is going at somebody else, other creators, roasting them, just trying to get the clicks.
It's making fun of other people in I guess in a comedic way. And to put it in vidIQ context, we have something called the Savage, who at the end of channel audit live streams, instead of giving useful advice, will just savage your channel and tell them how bad they are. So I think it's a little bit like that. But quite apart from copyright, is this where we get into defamation and scary terms like that, Emily?
Well, we get into defamation, but I think with YouTube, we also get into community standards and community guidelines and where they draw the line with online harassment and bullying. So a channel that I very much like does like funeral videos for tech. If a piece of tech is terrible and is like, we are putting this in the ground, this is the funeral, and kind of roasts the phone. That's not going to hit the same way as roasting and really roasting another creator. And there are ways to do this that are not going to hit the community guidelines. But if you are just brutally going after a creator, it can lead into defamation, but B, it can also hit with online harassment, cyber harassment, and cyberbullying. And there are definitely channels in the drama commentary community that bump up way too close for me to the line of commentary. Like criticizing the way that somebody's done an apology video is different than just being like, this person has committed these crimes, does this, is the worst, should die, all of these things. So it depends, because comedy and parody are one thing, and roasting bumps the line of comedy and parody for defamation purposes. But for YouTube community standards purposes, if it goes too far, you can lose your channel for that. The problem is YouTube won't define what goes too far. They're taking cues from the old Supreme Court cases with regards to things like adult videos. I know it when I see it, and when I see it, I don't like it. So you're now relying on YouTube to determine where the line is on that.
Another good one here. I've been approached by Gameology. Dan, do you know who that is?
I do not.
No ideas. And they're asking for permission to use some of my videos. They talk about editing them to fit their format, and they'd link to my original and mention me by name. But this really doesn't seem right to me. I have not said yes, but I suppose my question is this normal practice, and what should I do about it?
I bet if you look this up, this is one of those channels you were talking about earlier, like a montage channel where they take. So this is exactly what we're talking about. The whole stream, actually. People coming to you and this is the other side of that. Someone's coming to you and trying to ask for permission to use something you made in their content. Okay, I got it. So 1 million subscribers. This is a very well-known channel. So this channel is smart enough to do that. It is up to you if you want to do that. If someone had approached me personally, and I have been approached, not by channels of this size, but by other creators to use my content, I've said no, because I'm very, I guess you can call me selfish with my content. I like to hold on to everything. Maybe I want to reuse it and repurpose it in my own way, and I'd rather just keep that in house. It's your preference at that point, but this is them asking you for that permission.
And I think getting it in writing from them, if they've emailed you and said what they're going to use, how they're going to use it, and giving them a limited license for that purpose can be a good way to get your video in front of more eyes. I had a video I did Friday was used in clip on the Phil DeFranco show this week. And I was absolutely thrilled. I was like, yes, go ahead, Phil. You credited, linked back, and a lot of people came over to my channel saying, hear from the Phil DeFranco show. So when a creator reaches out, that's a creator who aligns with my audience as well and aligns with my values as well, I'm not going to have a problem with it. Now, if it was a creator that I didn't necessarily align with that could be brand damaging, I might have felt differently about it. But that looks like a well-regarded channel, a lot of subscribers. So if the channel aligns also with your brand, I would consider just looking at what they said in writing and giving them a limited license if you want to do that. So I was thrilled with it, by the way. I got to just tell you, I was thrilled. We were thrilled. The law nerds were thrilled.
Now, it could be a big moment for you, depending on what they're offering, in exchange for that content, and be it money, be it credit, be it whatever. So definitely carefully consider that. I hope they are watching this live stream.
I will have to say, when it comes to this world of content creation and influencer adjacent thing, exposure is not a valid form of payment for something.
Yes.
You're going to get exposure is not payment for your editing services or thumbnail creating services or whatever. But there are times when a collaboration that involves a limited licensing for exposure can be a good thing for your channel too.
Yeah, but it's in this case mutually beneficial. But yes, thank you for bringing that up, because I know that a lot of people out there struggle with that. I'll give you some exposure if you let me do unlimited things with this thing you made.
Let's see if we can work out this one. They have a pending issue with Epidemic. That's a provider of music. They are saying my niche is against their policy because they don't allow straight uploading of their music. But I use their music for subliminal programming to accompany the visual text flashing on my videos. plus the subliminal messages I mix into the audio. Subliminal. That sounds like it might be against
YouTube terms of service.
Yeah, it might be. There's no resolution yet, but I'm told them if they're going to claim me, then make sure to claim, I guess, all of the channels in my niche. Plus, their music is the least important thing in my videos. And why would I pay Epidemic to have it claimed? I would have just used K-pop songs for free and would have gotten more traction. That sounds pretty dense.
That doesn't sound like a question.
It doesn't sound like a question.
That sounds like a complaint with Epic or Epidemic.
Yeah, what I will say related to what we're talking about is Epic has come to you and basically said what you're doing with our music goes against our terms of service. We don't feel like what you're doing is transformative enough. And if you're trying to fight them on that, I mean, I wish you luck, but I think you just kind of have to abide by their terms.
I will say that, but they're doing it is not a legal defense.
Yes.
Yeah. But they did it. Mom, they did it too, is not a legal defense. They're talking to you. So you have to focus on them talking to you, and you talk to them.
They may be talking to everybody. You know,
know.
These aren't public emails. You know, they could have did a mass blast to you and every other person they've caught doing this.
And a lot of times when companies will do stuff like that, they will copyright their emails so that you cannot share them on your channel. And I've seen lawyers starting to do this with cease and desist letters too, particularly in the YouTube space, that they copyright their cease and desist letters so that if they're cease and desisting a problematic channel, the channel can't then make content out of the cease and desist letter because they copyright it. If you ever have YouTube beef that you need to send a cease and desist, this is not legal advice. This is Emily advice. This is YouTube mom Emily telling you, tell your lawyer that you need to copyright the cease and desist so that you don't then get flamed for sending the cease and desist and having the language of the cease and desist shared on YouTube, unless you want them to share it because you're like, whatever. So, thoughts. Emily, thoughts.
Sorry if I'm sort of tuning out to the conversation on the live stream. I'm just going through.
You totally did.
Yeah. I have a question about copyright on images from celebrity Instagram accounts. I know that people who post images on Instagram maintain the copyright, but what are the rules for using those photographs? I see a lot of gossip blogs using Instagram images and just crediting the Instagram account. I have a video channel in mind, and it would involve using some images. Can I do that and just credit the account? I won't be doing anything negative or degrading. Am I likely to get a copyright strike?
It depends. Here's the thing with celebrity images. It's that oftentimes the celebrity isn't the one who took the photo. So you could also get claimed by the photographer. Yeah. So it depends who took the photo. Now, you will see YouTubers all over the place, myself included, using images in thumbnails and what have you. And if it gets claimed, then taking it down and changing it. But is it newsworthy? It depends on how you're using it, but know that it's not just using the celebrity likeness, and rights to use a likeness are different with celebrities because they've put their likeness out there so much that the likeness might not be the issue. The photographer might be the issue. There's a pretty famous case over the old Obama political photo, the red, white, and blue one with the face was half and half. The photo was taken by a photographer who was working for Getty Images at the time. The campaign used the photo without asking permission because politicians, but the photographer went to claim it, and Getty Images said, no, you were working for us at the time. We're the ones who have the copyright claim. And Getty Images actually won that case and got the money for it because it wasn't licensed. It was like, oh, but this is my likeness. Well, just because it's your likeness doesn't mean you own the copyrights, because the photographer can own the copyrights. And that becomes a very complicated circle of the world. And I've seen this happen to entrepreneurs who are promoting events using a photo that they've gotten off of a website from another entrepreneur, and the photographer coming back and saying, no, that's my photo of that entrepreneur. You can't use it to promote your event. They don't own that photo. Work for hire release, friends. Work for hire release.
We're experiencing that ourselves a little bit. There is we've seen on Twitter some people posting some images of me from one of my thumbnails, and a website is using it to promote buy subscribers and buy views. So obviously I think we're asking Facebook to take it down. and just going back to the original question, it goes back to how I can't comprehend how the distribution platforms have changed over the last 30 years. In that, a photographer taking an image of a celebrity would be safe in the knowledge that who they sold it to, whatever newspaper, would mostly be the only people distributing it, or at least that's where they get millions of people reading that paper. Whereas now, once that image is out on the internet, anyone can use it anywhere, and it's almost impossible to track.
Which has changed, I think, how much photography costs at the same time that you see laws changing with regard to independent contractors, and everyone has one of these that takes really good photos. So a lot of the headshots I use were taken by me. So I own all of the copyrights in it because they were taken by me. But if you don't have that work for hire release, the photographer can claim it, which is where Kat Von D got in trouble for tattooing a photo of a celebrity onto somebody. But the photographer of the photo was like, that's my copywriting. The tattooing of the photo is not a transformative use. It's just putting the photo in a different medium. And that is a very interesting copyright. So when we talk about copyright, there are so many permeations of it. A basic understanding of what do I own and what I don't own is where we start with all of this.
Should we take a couple more questions?
Yeah, I think I'm done with the community tab ones. Great questions, but it was just difficult to keep picking them all out as I was scrolling through.
So I think people were thinking we were just going to stay in the community tab. Feel free to re-ask your question if you asked one a while ago and we missed it.
Oh, we just had loads of community tab questions. Whoops, come in.
They just moved. They migrated to the community.
Everybody
tab.
went and started asking there so that you would pick them up.
Whoops.
Wherever you want to pull them from is fine with me.
Re-ask them here, please, everybody.
I see one from Live Love Life. I think this is a great question. If you see it, the someone else's voice or video.
This one?
Yep. It's still somebody's copyright, even if people are memeing it. And there's a brewing copyright battle on TikTok over the voice actor who did the voice of voice to text. So you see a lot of these memes going around on TikTok where you type it in and it's like, a dog, and it's like, I ate my mom's shoe today, blah, 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 blah. Well, she sold that to a company, but then somehow TikTok started using it and she never sold the rights for her voice to be used in that way. And this is a brewing copyright battle over TikTok. Now, is that a platform issue or is that an independent creator issue becomes the thing? The platforms made it available, but using someone else's stuff, their voice can be copyrighted because it is a recording. And once it's a recording, it is a copyrighted work of authorship. So if you are using someone else's shit, it is copyrighted.
Again, a very naive question, but NFTs. I know almost nothing about these.
I knew a facepalm was coming.
Are NFTs some way of trying to place copyright on your original digital work? Like,
they are like blockchain monetizing copyright. I mean, they're like these weird blockchain licensing agreements where now things can be tracked and resold and there's only one of them, which is why I think it's kind of brilliant. And I think we will see more blockchaining of copyright. I know that there is conversations in the trademark office about blockchaining certain digital trademarks. So I think blockchain technology and intellectual property rights are going to become inextricably linked in the future. And that might just make it easier. The same way now you've got hash files, and this is going to, sorry, y'all, the same way you've got like hash file tracking of things that track around the internet and the dark web, you're going to start seeing that kind of blockchain tracking of copyrighted works. And it was going to make all of this easier, truthfully, to track it and harder to steal it.
I'll explain what I know about NFTs, but this girl is a very popular meme, and she's managed to, I guess, claw back $500,000 from
disengorge.
That used perfectly, I think. But now I'm distracted by Daenerys Targaryen in the bottom right hand corner.
I mean, me too.
Which is making it funny, but
Queen.
I'm just wondering if
First ever day Mother of Dragons. I can't help myself.
Sorry. NFT might become some way of money, a new revenue stream integrated into YouTube, TikTok, and other video platforms in the next decade or so.
I think it's before that. We're seeing YouTubers like H3H3 and Trisha Paytas using NFTs to quite a large financial gain. I believe Keemstar's done NFTs. I'm sure the Paul brothers have done NFTs. What don't they do? So I think we're already seeing creators creating these limited collectibles. I mean, I went to Target today, and this is something I never thought I would see, but there are signs on the door that do not say wear a face mask. They say, card collectibles, please see customer service. Like, they can't keep Pokemon cards on the floor at Target anymore because the collectibles market has gone buck wild. Take that into a digital where this is a first generation authentic this. There is only 1 or 2 or 5 or 20, and they are blockchain numbered, and it is tracked back. I think we're going to see a lot of it. I mean, if my favorite band sold a concert ticket with an NFT to one of the, that performance of that song that you own the rights to replay it or whatever, I would just fall over and die. So I think we're going to see musicians do it. I think we're going to see creators do it. And I think we're going to see it start seeping into the intellectual property world, where you could blockchain protect your thumbnail photo or whatever it is, or your headshot, and make sure that that's not getting used around the internet, because you'll be able to track it. I think there will be clearinghouses to track NFTs, where you can find if somebody's trying to duplicate it. I think it's going to be the way intellectual property is protected in the future. I have very strong thoughts. Yep. And then there's like implications for worldwide trademark rights, because now you have trademarks that you have to do country by country. I think NFTs opens up this ability to protect intellectual property internationally, which is a huge issue with the digital economy. It used to be you trademark it in the US and it's fine, and it didn't really matter. But now you have to trademark it really in the US, China, India, the UK, and anywhere else where you want to protect those rights. And for digital creators, that becomes a consideration as well.
I don't know why I asked that question as the last question. It's like the
I
Pandora's
just
box
nerd vomited everywhere. So future law students, blockchain technology is where you want to study. Blockchain technology, social media, and intellectual property are going to be some of the big growing fields.
That is fantastic advice, actually.
Understand. Look, here's where it's going to be really interesting is the people who are ahead of this enough to get some education in computer science. I think that needs to be part of basic education now anyway, is computer science and technology systems. But having that background paired with law, instead of seeing lawyers coming from the rhetoric space, the political science space, and what have you, coming from the technology space, I think there's going to be a very large market for it, particularly since most lawyers are technologically inept. And spend a lot of their time studying words and arguments and rhetoric and not knowing how to email things. And we've seen that with LawyerCat. We've seen that with people not able to change their Zoom meetings and what have you. So I think there's an interesting burgeoning area there for those who are up and coming.
LawyerCat could have turned that into an NFT.
Totally could have turned that into an NFT. The court should have turned it into an NFT with everyone's permission and like donated it to victims' funds or something. It would have been great.
That would have been fantastic.
They probably don't even know what an NFT is. They're still trying to figure out what a Bitcoin is, and they're not sure if Dogecoin is an actual thing or a prank or not. Now I've said it and we're going to get demonetized, but we're demonetized anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, you're in the right place if you're trying to get demonetized.
YouTube gods, I was joking. I made a joke. I'm not trying to sell anything. We're not selling anything. We're joking. We're not telling people to do it.
I'm selling NFTs right now. If you want to screenshot this, I'm selling myself for $10. Or I don't know what I'm talking about.
I'm selling vidIQ.
Maybe I shouldn't sell myself for $10. That sounds a little cheap.
Sell yourself for more. You're worth it.
I'm selling vidIQ, so I don't know about you guys, but let's thank everybody for hanging out today.
What a session that was, eh?
Yeah.
What a session.
My goodness. So as a reminder, the first Wednesday of every month, I want you to take like a big hole punch or something and just every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of every month, just punch your calendar with it.
Put it in your calendar and set a reoccurring event. Yep. How about that?
Well, everybody here has paper calendars on their wall. So use like a stapler or something.
Why?
Who has a paper calendar on their wall? I have questions, Dan.
Everybody here, right? Am I the only?
No, what?
I think it's just you,
There's
Dan. I think it's
Pokemon
just you.
and rainbow unicorns and cameras and art. I have not seen a paper
My-
calendar in I don't know how long.
My walls are just calendars because they have cool pictures on them.
I can't tell if you're joking with me or not.
Well, anyway, find your favorite mechanism of choice, like a hammer, and just block out Wednesdays. Right?
Where
Is
is
that not
Yes.
how you guys block out a day? I just use a
Rob,
hammer.
Rob, where's your
Yes.
paper calendar?
So
I mean,
I have a dedicated room where I just smash the wall in with a hammer, so I know what I'm doing every day, and then I have to replaster it every month, according to Dan.
This is what we budget for when we look for our homes, right? When we're buying houses.
Well, I'm not
You know,
charging this to the company.
Apartments are like a whole nother problem. If you start bashing walls in an apartment, that you're renting. Emily, I'm sure you know all about that. Calendar rooms in apartments. You can't do that. But block out wherever you use your calendar room. Block out the first Wednesday of every month because we're gonna have Emily on answering legal questions. I don't know why everyone's laughing. It's a serious legal conversations that we're having about calendars, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Can I copyright claim your calendar idea, Dan?
No,
this would be a patent, wouldn't it?
That whole rant was going to be an NFT.
Calendars are fair use generally.
I'm just taking that clip of the live stream, turning it into an NFT calendar.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I got to get my piece of the pie. All right, everybody. Anyone want to say bye to anybody, or did I ruin everything?
You didn't ruin anything. I think this was great. I look forward to more legal chats. I'm so glad to be working with vidIQ, and I'm excited to get to bring the legal side and then maybe random tangents about NFTs and calendar rooms. I'm here for it. I can't wait for next month.
Excellent dude, off the jacks, the Doberman guy, gaming after 50, Gerard Rogers, Word, Paul Peck, Drywall, DCU Studios, Bori Piano, Majestic Gaming. I'm going to say goodbye to all of you. And if any of you do get copyright claims in the next month, it was nothing to do with us. You haven't listened to anything we've said over the last 2 hours. Thank you very much.
I saw someone say they have a calendar on their phone. That, depending on the cost of housing where you live, that might be a cheaper way to just bash your phone and then get a new phone. So, bashing mechanism of choice, block out Wednesdays, do it.
Can someone meme this on Twitter for us, please? Like just somebody hammering a calendar wall or something. We need it now.
Sorry to ruin
Is Jonk in a room? He'll do an animation for us.
I feel like we're going to be at a Ren fair where they take the announcements and bash them up onto a tree or something. That's how we're doing it now. Just bash it in with a hammer. I love it.
Paul Peck Drywall has an entire channel about this. He should be able to tell us how to. Yeah, Paul, can you do us a tutorial on how to create a calendar wall in your house?
I will admit that rant was sponsored by Paul Peck Drywall. I will come clean and say that, that was a paid rant. So good luck with your sales there, Paul. Stella, we'll say bye to you, and Lynn's and DCU Studios, and Beastie and Tech Valor and Rogue Scholar and Goose Plays and Chelsea something, chat's moving too fast, Lisa J, and Shelf Addiction. Emily,
and thank you to all of the law nerds who joined us as well. Appreciate the
Chelsea said bash it in with a gavel, so I have 2 gavels that have been sent to me from various law nerds, so I just grabbed the gavel so we could bash it in with the gavel.
That works too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would make a cooler dent in the calendar too.
No, definitely.
Or did you want to say bye to anybody, or?
Oh, I want to say bye to everybody. I've seen tons of law nerds in here, and a lot of my moderators, Jake's Baby Cakes and Dr. Riley and Tech Valor. It's been so good to see everybody. So thank you guys for being here, law nerds. Thank you for all the purple hearts. I see Katya in here and Melody Nolan. It's great to see you guys. And thank you. I didn't know I got to say goodbye to people too. I'll be more prepared for next one. Andy's mom, Sammy, good to see you.
Thank you, everybody. We will see you back here on Tuesday for channel audits. Like gloves are coming off. And then the following Wednesday for more vidIQ tool overview / Q&A shenanigans. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody. Catch you later.
Bye, everyone.